Hey guys, 4.3 is applications. Fancy way of saying, okay, you're gonna have a word problem and you have to figure out what equation or equations you're going to use to solve the system. Okay, so Mrs. Gordon's farm has cows and chickens to total 25 animals and 70 feet. Feet, not meaning distance, meaning what's at the bottom of your legs, feet. How many of each animal does she have? Well, the first part of all these word problems is you've got to figure out what equations you have. So if we look at this, I'm being told two pieces of information. I'm being told total animals, and I'm being told total feet. Okay. Now, before I write my equation, I'm going to have some variables because I have unknown information. I need to decide what are those variables going to be. So maybe let's use X and Y. Well, what are we talking about in this problem? We're talking about cows and chickens. So I'm going to make X be the number of cows I have and Y be the number of chickens I have. Okay, that way when I solve for one of these variables, I know which one's which. Okay. So now I'm going to back up to my equations. 25. 25 is the total number of animals. Well, what kind of animals am I putting together? I'm putting together cows and chickens. Cows plus chickens equals my 25 animals. Now, the other piece of information I'm told is how many feet they have. Well, hopefully you guys know what a cow and a chicken are. How many feet does each cow have? 4 feet per cow. And how many feet does a chicken have? 2 feet per chicken. This is my system of equations. Now the word problem I don't need it anymore, and I'm going to use the system that I wrote and I'm going to solve it like what we were doing on the last lesson. I need to choose a variable to get rid of. So I'm going to get rid of X, which means I'm going to multiply the top equation by -4. And I'm leaving my bottom equation alone for now. I add my two equations together because look what happens to my X's. Those cancel. And then I divide both sides by -2. And I end up with that Y equals 15. But now, back up, and what did Y represent? So that means I have 15 chickens. Then I can use that to figure out how many cows I had. I'm going to pick one of those two original equations, although some of you probably already have this solved in your head. Cows plus chickens, but I found that there's 15 chickens equals a total of 25 animals. 15, I get that X equals 10. So then that means I have 10 cows. You are not going to write these answers as ordered pairs because are we going to graph cows and chickens? No. So, all right, a little bit more complicated one. I have $1.55 in my pocket. If I have only quarters and dimes for a total of 8 coins, how much of each coin do I have? All right, well, first, let's decide what our variables are going to be. I'm dealing with quarters and dimes. If you want to use X and Y, that's fine. A lot of students use Q and D. Q for quarters, D for dimes. Again, you are more than welcome to use X and Y. Now, look at what I'm given. I'm being told a total money and a total number of coins. So those are going to be part of my equations. Total money, total coins. So let's start with the money one. I'm dealing with dimes and quarters. Together, I have $1.55. Think about them separately. What is a quarter worth? 25 cents per quarter, plus what is a dime worth? 0.10 per dime. The 8 is how many coins I have. Well, I have quarters and dimes for a total of 8 coins. Now, just like the problem above, I'm done with the word problem. Once I write my equation, the word problem is used. I don't need it anymore, and I'm going to solve the system. Okay, so if I decided that I wanted to get rid of Q, I can multiply this bottom equation by negative 0.25. So the top equation I'm leaving alone. Okay, and then I'm going to go negative 0.25Q, negative 0.25D, equals 8 times negative 0.25 is negative 2. Okay, my quarters cancel. Negative 0.15D equals negative 0.45. Sorry, I kind of ran out of room. And divide by negative 0.15 on both sides. And I end up that D equals 3. So what did D stand for? Dimes. That means I have 3 dimes. Oh my goodness. Sorry guys, I have a really, really bad headache and apparently it's affecting how I write. Okay, 3 dimes, but then can I use that information to figure out how many quarters I have? Q plus D, which we found to be 3, equals 8. So I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides, and I get that Q equals 5. So I have 3 dimes and 5 quarters. Okay, the homework assignment. Numbers 3 and 4 are the more complicated of the two. You may get a little stuck on the equations that you need to write. Feel free to ask me for help. And then number 1 we did in class. So if you were not present in class, you can just cross out number 1. Okay, you can cross out number 1, and then 3 and 4 are a little more complicated. So if you want to do the rest of them first, then come back and do numbers 3 and 4. Okay, but as always, if you have questions, please